Welcome everyone to today's live stream. My name is 𝗀𝗲𝗽𝗍𝗍𝗍. If this is your first time catching me live, please say hello so I know you're here. If you are someone who watches me pretty regularly, please say hello also and let me know that you're here and if you have any updates for me on your body energetics. My name is 𝗀𝗲𝗽𝗍𝗍𝗍 and I have been in fitness for 21 years. June of 2022 will be 21 years. And I have been focusing on energetic work the last, I'd say, like 2 years. My experience getting into energetic work really started in, I would say, 2012 when I was at my wit's end with binge eating, and I was so upset that I wasn't able to actually eat my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's what I would make for my binge if I didn't get myself to a donut store. And I really got into mindset work. And there was a time in that period, and you'll understand why I'm taking the time through this, because I have not really embraced my feminine energy. So I'm being very conscientious to speak slowly and really share from the feminine perspective. It's the first time doing it this way, so bear with me. I really felt that energy and spirituality was ridiculous, and I interacted with a lot of people who didn't follow through on their commitments because the energy shifted, and that was just a really big turnoff to me. And so when I wanted to work on myself and stop binge eating, I didn't want to do anything that was soft or feminine, and I just disowned all of that stuff. And I even said, God doesn't help you, God doesn't exist. Like, I even had a moment of saying that was unreal. And I remember that so clearly, because then when my brick and mortar was folding, when I knew it wasn't going to sustain itself financially, I thought, well, I got this far, it was 2012 to 2015 without God. What if I ask God to help now? And I started meditating to really figure out what was the missing piece. And my anxiety was really high because I knew the business was going to close. And so at that time, my meditation, more in 2014, when I knew it was going to close, it closed in 2015. My meditations were purely to make it through the day without feeling like I was going to throw up all day. So it was really just to release anxiety. And then in 2015, when the business was gone, I was like, okay, well then, what next? And I came across this post on Instagram. I still have it. Well, I have the screenshot of it. And it said, in order to heal and change the world, you must heal and change yourself. Or love yourself, maybe. Heal and love yourself. And that hit me like a ton of bricks, because I think I knew it in theory, but it didn't ever make sense to me of what loving and healing yourself would really look like. And in that moment, I had this huge download. We call them downloads. I think in the old days, they just called them ideas. I just had all of this information flood my brain of how I could help people through love. Because at that moment, I was like, oh, I don't know how to love myself. And I thought, well, I can interview people about how they came to self-love and what their practices were. So I interviewed people, sometimes 10 people in a day. It was a daily podcast, and you may have listened to it. And I thought, like I always do, that I'm an expert because of an aha moment. And my personality is still, in some ways, I'm working on it, but my personality has mostly been, I get the idea and it makes sense to me, I have the aha, and I just run with it. Aries rising. Hello, Brooke. I'm so glad you're here. Let me know if any of this is helpful. If you have ideas and insights, come through as I'm chatting here. So I have this podcast and I learn a lot. I process a lot. I have no idea what's going on. I have days where I can't get out of bed, canceling interviews. And I had a lot of really supportive people that I connected with. And some of them would say, oh, you're processing energy, and oh, you're emotionally growing. And I'd be like, I don't know, my shoulder just hurts. I have a headache. But it was all energetic, emotional stuff that was shifting because I'm having these conversations with people. I'm really great at asking questions. A lot of people say this about me. I'm really great at asking questions. And in the context of the podcast, there would often be times where a person would say, I've never shared this with anybody. I've never been asked this before. And it would be really vulnerable stuff. So energetically, emotionally, right? Because emotions are measurements of energy. I'm fusing with these people's story. And because I'm so receptive, as most of us are, we're just unaware of it, because I was so receptive, it moved things in me. But I didn't change my life. So I think I was like having all these emotional changes inside, and I was really stubborn with my decisions and what I was doing with my life, and really judgmental about myself. So I think my mental state and my emotional state were already severely disconnected based on my early childhood experiences, but also it was magnified because now I had my physical life not in alignment with what was going on inside. And if you know the story, I had a disc slide up and under the disc below it in my neck around 2 years after that happened, so in 2017. And when I was considering surgery, I went in for surgery, or I went in for an MRI, and they tell me what happens, and they're like, you didn't get into a car accident, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and I'm like, no. And this neurosurgeon was like, it's kind of like a tire that wears out. Sometimes the disc just blows. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I don't want to get surgery, because I knew from my fitness world that if you lock down a certain part of your joint system, because your vertebra and discs are joints, if you lock down one joint, the joint above and below is now going to be impacted. And so I was like, in my mind, I was thinking, well, I'm just going to be chasing this problem all throughout my spine if I do surgery. So I rested, I did yoga, I got an epidural, and then I went back to the neurosurgeon 4 months later, and he says, you've suffered long enough, let's do surgery. So I posted on Facebook, and I don't even know who it was. I don't remember who it was, but somebody said, you should read Dr. Sarno's The Divided Mind before you get surgery. And half the book, it's a book like this big. I don't think I have it anymore. I think I gave it to somebody. Half the book is the medical history of removing psychosomatics, the mental emotional connection to the physical body, from the industry. And then the other half of the book is case studies and things that have changed in people's life by dealing with their deep emotional stuff. The more severe the trauma, the more severe the physical ailment was. And sometimes he would have a catastrophic, a client who had like a catastrophic realization and memory come up, and they would cry, fall to the floor in tears of emotional devastation. But then after that, after the emotions cleared the body through their crying, their body felt better. And I was like, what? This is crazy. So since 2017, I've been getting into meditation more and more, partially because I love to learn. I even on my high school ring, part of it says knowledge is power. I'm a manifesting generator. Now I forgot my line, 3-2 or 6-2, or I live by embodiment, and my life's work is to embody the thing that I'm here to teach. Does that make sense? So it's like all the stuff that my body has gone through, my mental, emotional, and physical and spiritual bodies have gone through, all apply to my career, but they apply to my career because they also apply to like my path for this life. So when I got into meditation, because I'm naturally interested in it, because it feels resonant with me to improve my life, I also have my Aries rising that's like, now! Slash daddy issues of being obsessed with time and wanting to get things done and being able to prove myself in some way. So 2017 through 2020, I'm doing the Joe Dispenza meditations, the hour and 20 long minute, hour and 20 minutes of meditations. I get on friends to do it. I have study groups with it. And in 2020, I was already kind of prepared that I was going to learn something more about spirituality in the form of crystals. So I got this idea in January of 2020, and I was like, I'm going to learn about crystals this year. I know it. And then I had this work session with a woman who was into the spiritual stuff, and she shared with me a lot of things that did not make any sense at the time, but now they make perfect sense. And we all know what happened in March of 2020. And I had a moment in June of 2020 where I felt the same exact way I felt when I was 13, interacting with a group of women and a singular woman. So in my real life, as however I'm 38 years old in June of 2020, I had the similar context situation with a group of women and a singular woman. And I felt the way I did when I was 13. And I was like, what is happening? This is weird. Is this what they talk about collapsing time? Is this what they talk about the quantum? Is this what they talk about with time travel? How is this happening? So that really set me down an even deeper spiritual path to figure out, like I was basically experiencing what psychics talk about. Like if you watch the Long Island Medium, or Tyler, that is the medium that had the MTV show, but now I think he's on Netflix or Amazon or something. I experienced what some of these spiritual people talk about is a possibility in our reality. So I was like, what is happening? So then I really started meditating. But what happened was, in my meditations, whoever I am on the soul level with gene keys and human design and my natal chart, I started to perceive feelings as shapes and colors and moving, moving things. Like the shapes would move and lines would connect, and if lines would intersect in a meditation, I would have a feeling, and I would see that one line represented an emotion or a thought, and then the other line represented something else, and then the collision of them were the material thing that happened in real life. So I'm doing these meditations every day, like, what is happening? And I thought I was crazy many times. I still think I'm crazy in a lot of ways. And I started to doubt what was happening, that I was spiritually bypassing, or I was being too objective. Because these are two phrases that people will say if the person they're saying it to, in my opinion, if the person that they are saying this to does not have an emotional reaction to what is happening out in the world. Because you're not being compassionate or empathetic or whatever the word is that's usually being misused. I think those two words are usually misused, like jealousy and envy. So I'm thinking at times that interpretation is not good enough to understand emotions, that I'm conceptualizing them too much, or I'm using thought masculine energy too much. But what I have found, because I love to read, I love the consumption of information, what I found is that there are different ways different indigenous cultures perceive the chakra system, the energy spheres that are within your vertebral column and your hands and your feet, all over. And I was like, oh, this is just my ability, right? Like, you got the Long Island medium, you got Tyler. So what I understand how emotion works and how energy works, that's like, because that's like kind of the feminine side of it, is we are sacred geometric shapes in our etheric or spiritual body. And we have all these little nooks and crannies of intersecting lines, like the flower of life or the star, or I can't think of all the names of what these tetrahedron, all of these geometric shapes have an emotional value to them. And the difficult thing I think that I find when I'm talking about feminine energy and emotion is that it's a thing all of itself. It's a thing all by itself, and it's also understood in our individual perceptions through our 5 senses. So this emotional, energetic feeling in your body from the feminine can be interpreted by you in a completely different way than I interpret it. You could get a taste, you could smell something, you could feel something like a hand on your shoulder, or just like the tingles. Hear, see, smell, taste, and touch. Those are all senses that will turn on from the inside out perception that you're having of your feminine body versus how we're just used to it from the outside in. And to me, the 6th sense is really just whatever one of your senses is the one that you use to perceive what you can't see. But then, of course, that could be your 6th sense. Your 6th sense that you use for real life. The 6th sense to me is the 5th sense, is one of the Jesus, right? This is hilarious. Okay, I'm really trying to go slow. Is your 6th sense is one of the 5 senses that we use in real life, but it's the one that you use to perceive what is in the anti-material or the energetic. That's what I'm trying to say. So I believe everybody has this ability. We just have to learn how to tap into it, because again, like I said yesterday, we've been so far removed from the relationship with our body. So this, to me, how I got into it and what it means to me, what emotions are, and the metaphors will come up in later live streams that I do to kind of go down one lane of the feminine energy. And I'll do that for the masculine energy too. But I wanted to give you a context of who I am, areas that I'm still struggling with, and how even like right now I'm showing you me practicing being in feminine energy to go a little slower, take my time, not worry if you're getting bored, like I'm not rushing through it, all those things. Now, to talk about the feminine or the feeling and the being part of this conversation is that how we feel is going to cause us to think and to act and to speak based on how we're feeling. So the energetic, the emotional, the feminine is the foundation for the experience. And feminine has been removed from our awareness. Everyone's gonna be like, why are you still talking about this? Through the patriarchal religions of a singular male god and other ways. And we're in this resurgence with the planet, right? Civilization goes through shifts. You see different time periods, the Bronze Age, the Silver Age, the Golden Age. We are shifting into a new age. And for some, we also talk about it as we are shifting into a higher chakra, because the earth has chakras too. So everything that you see right now out in the real world about the body, about gender, about sexuality, about canceling, about censorship, all have to do with the feminine sacral chakra, because that's the place that holds the feminine energy. So the debates that we're having about all those things I just mentioned are a representation of us coming into awareness of this energy. And every human on the planet that's aware of the conversation is deciding where they fit into the conversation, what side they lie on, if they lie on a side, or if they're going to opt out of the conversation. And then also, there's lots of people internally who do not participate in the outside information, who are having their own awarenesses really light up with their emotions. Because as the planet shifts, civilization shifts, we shift. It's just whether or not, like, how much we're participating in all the levels. So, you, who you are, your beingness, your feminine energy outweighs everything that you could be doing and thinking. Because there's really three parts. Your vibration, which is your emotion, your frequency, your intelligence and your mind, and then your actions and how you speak. Those have to do with manifestation of the inner child, your actions and how you speak. But everything works with the feeling and the being, because you are what we call a sentient being. You are an animate object. Although there are some spiritual rabbit holes that will talk about the consciousness of rocks and what it's like to have the consciousness of a rock one lifetime and the consciousness of a human another lifetime. Side note, now you can see why it's been so difficult for me to share this information with you, because there's so much. So your desire to change your body, whether it's to lose weight, be consistent with your exercise, get started, change your lifestyle. The reason why those things are so difficult is because your beingness, like your actual physical being, is made up of, in part, of how you feel. The deep down 0 to 7, you have no mental awareness of your feelings because you developed this beingness out of feelings and solutions that you made since you were in utero to probably 7 years old, when you're in that theta brainwave state of download only. So, because Dr. Sarno talks about inner child primitive, which is basically inner child wounds from infancy. So, if you are doing all the things, or you don't stick with the things, or you can't bring yourself to do the things, no amount of thought and doing is going to fix it. Because you haven't dealt with the deep down emotional feeling stuff, which I totally get. We do not want to do. I am just now stepping into this energy after being able to see more of my imbalances of how they're showing up in communication and relationships. Where before I worked on the balances for my body to be able to feel self-empowered enough to diet for a 6-pack without losing my mind. I'm learning about feminine energy in my relationships and my career, because that's where I have put some of the self-worth issues that you might be dealing with right now, just to get started, just to get the results, or I forget what the other one is. The consistency of it. So I'm going to be sharing with you Monday through Friday, one day mental, one day emotional, to really help you understand the energetics, the positive polarity, the negative polarity that are going on inside your mental emotional state, your mental emotional identities, especially those ones from 0 to 7, that are preventing who you are now, the measly 2 to 5% or 3 to 5% of you that's consciously running the show. I'm going to share with you that 95 to 97% that's underneath the surface. That's the positive or overly positive masculine. That's the negative or the overly negative feminine. The goal is to be in balance energetically, so that way you are speaking and acting in alignment with the mental emotional state that says, yes, I can. Really, that's all we're doing. So that is your live stream for today. If you are feeling complete, thank you so much for being here. Please, write a comment if this was helpful. Please share this on your social media and tag me, because I don't run ads. I want to grow this business, Body Energetics, organically through people who really want this information and are ready to do it slowly. So if you're complete, thank you so much for being here. I am going to transition right now into letting you know about my free coaching community, because it really, at the end of the day, it is coaching, and my paid coaching. Okay, so if you're complete, you don't want to hear this, thank you so much for being here. If you want more information about how to work with me, free and paid, that's what I'm going to talk about right now. So this is how the free is working. Monday through Friday, I'll be here to talk about mental and emotional on separate live streams. I have a group called Body Energetics on Facebook, and weekly I am guiding you through a meditation to go into your energetic field. So who I am energetically in the anti-material is like a supercharger for you to tap into your own field. So the meditation is designed where we are working together energetically, and you'll see once you're in the group how that works. And I'm going to take you into your field, and if you have watched any of the live streams on my IGTV or my YouTube, when we go into your field, you will have a clear intention, because I'm sharing with you now information about how the mental emotional bodies work. And so when I bring you into your field, I do it in so many ways, because there's so many different energetic tools and practices. I don't know how I'm going to do it. It'll either be going directly into one chakra, into all your chakras, into connecting the chakras of how they complement each other, into just opening up your field, into shrinking your field. I could do so many different practices, and I never know what I'm going to do until I start doing it. So step 1 would be watching these lives. Step 2 would be doing the guided meditation in the group. Now in the guided meditation, you have 24 hours to comment on it, and I will help you through whatever comes up. Then I'm going to have a Q&A feed where you can write in your questions, especially if you're doing a meditation every single week, journal and then put your questions in there. Then I'll do a live Q&A. I was going to do it on Zoom, but I think that's going to take away from my clients. So I want to do a live stream Zoom. You could, be on the live stream and type in more questions as they come up. And you can ask a question in 24 hours after that live stream, because you may watch the replay and then have a question because it caused you to think about something in a different way, or it caused you to feel something. And then if you want to work with me, next Wednesday, March 30th at 6 p.m. Pacific time, I'm going to do a masterclass. Now this masterclass is most likely going to be over an hour long, because I'm going to share with you the fundamentals of masculine energy, daddy issues, how your thoughts and your doing, why your thoughts and doing aren't working, so that you can actually see, A plus B equals C. I'm going to share with you that information about how the energetics are functioning, so that you can get those results, you can stick with it, and you can get started. And then with this $99 masterclass, you can come into a month long of integration with me. So that means that you're going to take that $99 class, use the $99 as a credit for working with me for a month. And the month is going to be in a group container. Because if we're all together, everyone will grow at different rates and help each other grow because of how the energetics work. So that's how you can work with me, free and paid. Paid includes a credit. It's really exciting. I put it together how I would want to buy. Because if somebody told me when I was at my wit's end with binge eating, I went to therapy and I went on antidepressants. If somebody had told me, just pay me this much money and we're going to do this meditation, your whole life is going to change, I would be like, you are full of shit. You are a snake oil salesman. So this is a way that you can feel really comfortable and start to get results without financially investing, because it's going to take the pressure off of you. It's going to take the pressure off of me too. And then also you're going to build faith and belief in yourself that if you do financially invest in something with me, you know you're going to do it and you know you're going to get results, because we're going to get results now for free. Okay? So let me know and we'll see you there.